Jeffries, along with his life partner Matthew Smith, stood before a federal judge today, both charged with the same 16 crimes. 1 count of human trafficking and 15 counts of interstate prostitution.
Any comments on the charges?
Michael Jeffries, the former Abercrombie & Fitch CEO, is out of jail on a $10 million bond. A judge ordering the 80-year-old to house arrest at his Palm Beach apartment on Royal Palm Way.
Hello, how are you? Today I want to look at 2 cases. The case of Michael Jeffries, the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, and Sean Diddy Combs, the owner of Bad Boy Records. These 2 individuals have similar charges, but one, Michael Jeffries, got bail, did not spend a night in jail. And on the other hand, you have Sean Diddy Combs, who is now still in jail and is scheduled to remain in jail until his trial. So I want to look at the similarities of these 2 cases and compare them and give you my opinion on why Diddy did not get bail and my opinion on whether or not Diddy will get bail in the future. All right, now these 2 cases are similar because they both deal in sex trafficking. They both have a drug aspect to it, where people who were participating in these sex acts were drugged. In the Michael Jeffries case, his crimes, in the indictments I'm talking about, his crimes start in 2008 and they end in 2015. In Diddy's indictment, his charges, his accusations start in 2008 and go until September of 2024 when he was arrested. Michael Jeffries is 80 years old. Diddy is 54 years old. Michael Jeffries is not a public figure. Diddy is a public figure. Michael Jeffries' escapades ended in 2015, and although Michael Jeffries did have an organization around him that facilitated these sex trafficking and sex events and security and staff and everything like that, that all pretty much came to an end in 2015. Diddy still has his network intact. They call it the Enterprise, and he is being charged in the RICO case because he is still controlling this enterprise, this network. So one had a network set up and it's no longer in effect. One still has a network set up and it's in full effect. Okay. Both of these indictments are horrible. When you go through the details of these indictments, they're horrible. We all know what Diddy is being accused of, but Michael Jeffries is being accused of something very similar. He's being accused of telling expiring models that if they wanted to work in the modeling industry and if they wanted to model for Abercrombie & Fitch, that they had to participate in these sex events. Now, a lot of the men that were victims of these events were not told exactly what they would have to do. They were pretty much presented with some sort of modeling audition or some sort of modeling event, and when they got to the event, their cell phones were taken, their clothes were taken, and they were forced to engage in these sex acts even though they weren't willing to do it, which is horrible. They were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements, and they were told that if they didn't participate, that they wouldn't have a career in the modeling industry and they would be blackballed. And they were told if they participated, they would get modeling jobs and they would become models for Abercrombie & Fitch, which was, a lie in most cases. So that was horrible. And they also went as far as to recruit straight men or heterosexual men to engage in these sex events and force these men to they forced these men to engage in homosexual activities, even though these men were not homosexual. So and they also drugged these men. And, like I said, it's horrible what they're being accused of. 15 of these men have testified in front of the grand jury about what was done to them, and they're part of this indictment. So each person that he did this to is an additional count in this indictment. So he has 16 counts in his indictment, one for sex trafficking and then the other 15 for the actual victimization of these 15 men. And they're saying that there's dozens more that are not in this indictment. Diddy has 3 charges, 3 counts in his indictment, and similar, where he coerced people to participate and drugged people as well. So there's a lot of similarities in these cases. But the one thing that Michael Jeffries does not have in his indictment is violence after the fact, violence after 2015, or violence after the person participated in the sex events. Now, they were forced to participate in the sex events, but they weren't threatened and beat up and coerced after the events, as far as the indictment reads. Now, in Diddy's case, we know that there's violence involved. We saw the video of Cassie Ventura at the hotel, so we know that it's true that there were violent acts associated with Diddy's freak-offs. Also, the government has prepared a document pretty much justifying why Diddy should not have bail. And a lot of this centers around violence. They're saying that he used violence to get people to do these things, and that he is also accused of kidnapping. So they're painting him as a violent person. They're saying he and a co-conspirator kidnapped an individual at gunpoint to facilitate breaking into and entering the residence of another. Multiple witnesses would testify at trial to the events surrounding kidnapping and break-in, the latter of which is corroborated by police reports and other records. So they have him for kidnapping at gunpoint. And also, they say approximately 2 weeks later, the defendant's co-conspirators set fire to individual one's vehicle by slicing open the car's convertible top and dropping a Molotov cocktail inside the interior. Now, this is making reference to a rapper named Kid Cudi, who was interested in dating Cassie Ventura. Diddy found out, and Diddy had people blow up his car. So they're referring to that as a reason why Diddy should not get bail. They're saying that he is violent and he has other people that are willing to commit violent acts to protect him. They also focus in this document on firearms, and they have pictures of firearms that were found in Diddy's home that have had their serial numbers removed. They're saying that AR-15s, assault rifles, were found in his home with defaced serial numbers, as well as large capacity drum magazines. So why would a law-abiding citizen have firearms that have defaced serial numbers? That is illegal. Why would a person have that in a home in Florida, where guns are pretty much legal in Florida? And if you are not a convicted felon, you have no problem getting a legal firearm. You know, the only 2 reasons why I would think that someone would want to have a gun that doesn't have the serial numbers on it is because that gun either was used in a crime and they don't want it traced, or they have guns and they are thinking about the possibility of using those guns, and they don't want those guns traced. So they're saying that Diddy has these guns in his home. And this is so crazy because they raided his home in March of 2024. This is after the Cassie Ventura information came out, and he had to know that he was under surveillance and probably being investigated by the feds, but yet he still had these guns in his possession. And, you know, he had these guns that had no serial numbers, but he had other guns as well. He had other AR-15s that were broken down in his closet. He had guns in the safe. And then they said that some of the guns that he had belonged to some of his security team. So they're using that as a reason for not giving him bail by saying that even though we can prevent him from having a gun, or we can make it part of his bail conditions that he not have a gun, we cannot regulate the fact that someone else might give him a gun, being that he has had guns in his possession that were legally registered to other people. So they're using that as an example. They're also using as an example the incident that happened with Cassie Ventura in 2016 that was leaked to the media, and we all saw him beating up Cassie. And they're using that as an example of his violent tendencies. And they're using that as an example to show his network that worked to keep that video out of the public eye. They're saying that after this incident happened, Diddy and his team approached a security guard that was at the hotel and tried to bribe him to give up the video and to wipe the server. The security guard refused to do that and refused the money, but that didn't stop Diddy and his people, because they still pursued the issue, and they still were able to get that video removed from the server. It says within days of the incident, the surveillance video disappeared from the hotel server, and that was due to Diddy's power and influence to get that done. So they're saying that this guy has a lot of power, and a lot of people still working for him, and a lot of people that will do things for him. So in light of those facts, those are the reasons why they're saying that he should be denied bail. Now, as it relates to the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, they're not saying that. They're not saying that he still has a network intact, and they're not saying that he's trying to coerce people and kidnap people and threaten people and get people to dispose of video information or video evidence. They also point to, in Diddy's bail denial, they're talking about how dangerous Diddy is and how he has contacted people recently and have coerced them, threatened them, and tried to bribe them not to cooperate with an investigation. And they also point to the fact that he has used other people's phones to contact some of the people that have evidence against him. And they are saying that he used other people's phones so they would not be able to detect that it's him that's actually making these calls to people and coercing them and threatening them. So they're using this as a reason to show the lengths that Diddy will go to in order to contact people and coerce people and threaten people. So they're saying if he's out on the street, that the likelihood of him contacting people and being able to pressure people not to cooperate with the investigation is great. And then they're pointing to different laws that substantiate their reason for not giving him bail. And they're saying that they're consistent with the laws. They're saying that anybody who has these types of charges like Diddy has would not be able to get bail just by the evidence that they've presented, that the average person would not be able to get bail. And it would probably look pretty bad if that is true, but they give Diddy bail because he has money, because he has $50 million to put up, and he has a home that he can turn into a personal jail and have security and pay for all of these different surveillance measures, where the average person who has the same exact charges, who has the same exact arguments concerning the reason why they shouldn't get bail, cannot get bail. So it's going to pretty much say that if you have money, then you can get released. If you don't, then you have to sit in jail until your trial, and that's not fair. It should be based on the law and the evidence. And so Diddy has another shot, or pretty much two more shots, to try to get bail. Now, after he was denied by the second judge, he and his defense team appealed to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals for them to look at his denial and hopefully overturn it. Now, Diddy's trial or hearing was supposed to take place on November 4th with the Court of Appeals. But this month, when Diddy had his status hearing, the hearing where his mother came and his children came, and that was all in the news. At that status hearing, the judge there is a new judge. Another judge has taken over, and that judge asked Diddy's team, did they have arguments for bail? So he opened the door for this whole issue to be revisited. So now Diddy's team have to present their bail arguments to that judge, and of course the government will be there to argue that he shouldn't get bail. So when that door opened up for Diddy's team asked the Court of Appeals to wait. They said, just hold on, do not decide our case, our appeal yet. So they asked to postpone that November 4th hearing. And the Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court, but the Court of Appeals said, okay, we'll wait until after the judge that's hearing your case now decides. And then based on what he says, then we'll hear your appeal if you still need one. I think they will still need one. I don't think that Diddy's going to get an appeal. Not going to win in front of this judge, because the evidence is pretty much the same. I know Diddy's lawyers are going to use the fact that Michael Jeffries, who is also a very rich person, who also has international ties and has similar charges, got bail and is not considered a flight risk, is not considered, a threat to the public, and he got bail. And they're going to try to say, well, these are two of the same types of cases, and there's no reason for Diddy not to get bail. But there is reasons why Diddy should not get bail. So I don't think that he's going to get bail. I can't say whether that's going to be the case. I don't know whether he's going to get bail or not, but judging from what I've read, I don't think they're going to be able to get bail for Diddy. But we'll have to wait and see. And that's the difference between these two cases. The Michael Jeffries case, the former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, and Sean Diddy Combs. One other thing that I may not have mentioned is that Sean Diddy Combs is a very famous person. Everybody's following this case worldwide. Everybody knows about this Diddy case. So the emphasis on him being treated differently is high. Now, although Michael Jeffries was the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch from 1992 to 2014, he has never been a public figure like Diddy. Maybe in his circles, maybe in CEO circle or business circles, maybe he is very well known, but the general public does not know Michael Jeffries. everybody knows Diddy. So there's a much higher degree of scrutiny on what happens with Diddy's case. Okay, so that may be another reason why the government does not want to just let him have bail. Michael Jeffries, nobody knows who he is. Give him bail, let him go on his way, let him stay in his house until we're ready for him. Diddy, no, because everybody's watching. So if we say that it's okay for him to have bail, then that's going to send a signal to other people that are watching this, right? And also the fact that Michael Jeffries is 80 years old and Diddy is 54. There's a difference there. Okay, so I think that even though there's similarities, there's a lot of differences in these two cases, and I don't think Diddy will get bail. I'm just saying I don't think he will. So that's how I see it, and we have to wait and see what happens. But in the meantime, thanks for stopping by and checking me out. And until next time, as always, peace and stay safe.